What is up, guys? So today I'm going to do a review of this documentary what I found called HMP Doncaster. I'm going to have to skip through it because it's half of it's about Donny and half of it's about a bloody prison ship or something. But yeah, if you follow my story at all, you'll know that I used to be a heroin addict. So from 1994 up until like 2015, I spent most of it in prison, in this jail, HMP Doncaster, aka Doncatraz. So yeah, I'm just going to do a short review to this short little documentary. There's really not that much online about Doncaster.
Welcome to Prison Weekly.
And I remember this kid called Cooper. He was a good lad. I can't remember how long he was doing. He was doing a few years, I think. And we used to have like a little running joke with him because he was on the servery. And he used to, when you go down for your dinner, you would have to pick what you wanted from the menu the next day. So you'd have to say like 1 and 3. And he would write it down. And when I first landed, I was skinny as hell. I was rattling from drugs. So I've come down, he looked up, he went, "Fucking hell," he says, "You look rough." I says, "I fucking feel it, mate, I'm dying." And for the next month, he would, every day I'd go down, he'd say, "Oh, you're still rattling?" I'd be like, "Yeah, fucking hell." But yeah, good kid, Al Cooper.
Which this week comes from Doncaster.
Wait,
I'm
Doncaster.
Paul Cooper, and I'm doing a
Paul
3.5 year
Cooper.
sentence.
Now this is a prison, just a typical prison cell. When you've been in for like a few months, you acquire a lot of different things, like brown sauce, Lucasade. That's where a little cupboard where you keep all your toiletries or boxer shorts or whatever. You can hang your clothes up. You used to be able to get your own bedding in. You can put your posters up. Like a typical YO cell, which is a young offender, it would just be covered in shower gels and, you know, prison issue milks and fucking all sorts. Because you're in prison, you've got to try and make it as nice as you can. And you can tell a lot about a man through his cell. That's what I always used to say.
I'm on house block 1, D wing, and I'm 2 up in this cell.
2 up, that means he's
Her
got a cell,
Majesty's
mate.
Prison, Doncaster, is Britain's biggest private prison, run by Premier Prison Service. It is a local prison with 1,100 inmates.
Yeah, it's a remand centre, so you get remanded, you go here, and then when you've been to court and got your sentence, then they'll send you off to another jail.
And it can hold any category of prisoner.
It was a Cat A prison when it first opened. High security, they used to have like Alsatians that used to follow you around. They'd have all the Cat A prisoners. I remember there was a guy called Concrete Ken who chopped his wife's head off and buried it in the back garden under a load of concrete. There was a guy, a boxer, who hung his missus up on a punch bag and just knocked the fuck out of her. There was a guy who killed his cellmate because he wanted bail. There was a rumour back then, whereas if your cellmate killed himself while you were in the cell, then when you went to court, there was a chance you could get bail because of the trauma, what you've witnessed. So this genius killed his cellmate, strangled him, and tried to hang him up as though he'd hung himself so he could get bail. And he ended up getting lifed off for that. And his original charge, what was firebombing his missus, he ended up getting not guilty on. So, you know, he's doing life now for nothing.
Most are on remand or recently sentenced. We have a director, but not a governor.
Never
It's
knew
my
that.
first time in prison.
Oh man, that's where you go for your dinner. That's the servery. You go and get your dinner, then you come and sit down here, have your dinner, and then you can either go back to your cell or go on the phone. This foosball table, I'll never forget, the first time I saw someone get slashed. Well, I was stood at the foosball table, and let's say this guy here, somebody was walking across, and I could see, you know, you could feel it in the air when something's going to happen in prison. And he had intent in his eyes. He was just charging towards this dude. And then he pulled out a double blade, striped him straight down his cheek, and I was just stood right next to him. And honestly, I've never seen out like that. You got to understand, I wasn't about violence. I was into the rave scene. I was all about peace and love. And then I get locked up, and some guy's getting his face ripped wide open in front of me. My legs buckled, man. I was like, "Fuck, you know," I nearly passed out. It was just crazy. I had to go to my cell and gather myself, you know, like, wow, this is real, man. And you do get desensitized to it along the way. I've seen so many people get slashed, and it doesn't bother you after that first one, but the first one I'll never forget.
But other inmates say the staff here are more friendly than other prisons.
Yeah, the staff are
Coming
all
up
right.
in this week's programme, we find out how bullying is dealt
But I had, like most inmates back then, we had an attitude like it's us against them type thing. So I didn't really talk to them that much. This is a typical wing. And down here is a broom cupboard. Talking about bullying. Bullying was so bad. I've seen guys get bullied to death. And there's a little cupboard down here. I remember walking past talking about getting desensitised. And I heard someone screaming. It was this kid from Hull. And there was two Donny lads. They had him on the floor with his pants down, sticking a broom up his crease, and I just poked my head in and just went, huh, and just walked off, because you get desensitised to it. But yeah, you can sit and play pool. They'll let you out for an hour and then put you back in your cell, and that's
Dealt with here in Doncaster.
prison life.
You will wear a green t-shirt, which will denote the fact that you are a bully.
Yeah, they used to make bullies wear
You will be on
bright
2 visits
colours.
a week, 20 minutes duration.
If you get done for bullying, they take away some of your privileges and you have to wear a bright t-shirt.
On closed conditions.
I remember that screw, I can't remember his name. Right, I'm going to fast forward
America's
this.
hardest prison.
We take away privileges
goes on
from our
about
kids when they do something wrong.
a prison
Why
ship or
can't we
something.
take away privileges from people?
Paying £1,000 per prisoner per night in police cells, and the ship paid for itself in 12
I remember that
weeks.
prison ship. I don't think it's still going there. Right, you never get used to that noise.
Bullying is a universal problem, and it's something that goes on in prison as well. But once you're locked up, there's nowhere to run from it.
I remember bullying, it was so bad when this jail first opened. It was one of the highest suicide rates in all of England.
Some prisons have anti-bullying initiatives.
Yeah,
Ex-inmate Jack
we really
Merton
do out there.
came here to Doncaster to see how we're tackling the problem.
When I first went to prison, a fellow inmate said to me that my worst enemy would be the other cons, and to a certain extent he was right.
It's all about how you carry yourself. Like I've seen guys go in that were big, strong guys that could really fight, and they'd still get bullied because they don't know how to act around people. They'll be going around telling everyone how hard they are, saying, "Oh yeah, I've done this." A bit like what Danny G does, and people like that, they end up getting laid out in the showers. So if you know how to carry yourself, if you know how to act, you'll be all right in prison. You'll probably get tested at some point, but it's all about how you act.
Every day prisoners test each other and fight for their place in the pecking order.
Especially on the YOs. See, you'll hear this all the time, screaming and shouting. They've always got their hand down the pants. That's just, when you're in prison, when in Rome, do what Romans do, and you'll find yourself talking like a prisoner, walking with your hand down your pants, like, I don't care attitude.
Prison is
you let
like
it
a school
scream.
playground, and bullying can be
It is like a playground. I always say it's a playground mentality with deadly consequences.
anything from a look to a fist in the
Oh, is that Gypsy George?
face.
You get it, look at that.
Well, I think that's Gypsy George. I remember him.
Gotta see you right now.
He was hard as fuck. Gypsy George.
I'm sure you're aware that in the old days, and it probably is still there to a great extent, the staff worked hand in glove with those sort of prisoners to control a wing. What do you think about that?
My experience and my limited...
That's Brian Anderson. He used to be, I think he was British champion boxer. Or British level. He might have fought for the British title. I'm not too sure. I think he was from Sheffield. But yeah, he was a good boxer.
knowledge of what used to happen is that it was very much seen as part of the prison culture, and it was accepted that there would be one guy who would be rule over other guys.
Daddy of the wing. That's speaking of Gypsy George. He was like the daddy of the wing. The first time I saw him, I couldn't believe it. I was a YO, and he was a study. He opened the door with a screw, and he used to take the menus, and he had this big chef's hat on. And I thought, fucking hell, he's a screw, and he looks like he's in his 40s. There's no way he's under 21. He was huge, but he could really fight.
Other guys, and I think that was very much accepted in the past. What we're actually trying to do is to change this culture of prison, and that makes it very
I
hard
remember that
because
screw's
a lot
name.
of the
It
things that we
looks
identify
familiar,
as bullying behaviour, a lot of the prisoners don't see that. You know why you're here? Right, I've read this file. I must confess, it's not very pretty. You were issued a stage 1 on the 23rd of May, and you've been involved yet again in the bullying incident, and there's no excuse for it. And to that end, you know what the next step is. You're going on
GOAD, good order and discipline.
stage 2, and you're going down to 2C for a period of readjustment.
2C, I think back then that was the basic wing, where you didn't have tellies back then. So you lost all your privileges, you weren't allowed out your cell, you'd just be on pure bang up. I think you were allowed out for an hour to walk around the yard, and that was it. I don't think you were allowed to spend any money at the canteen, so yeah, if you get done for bullying, they'll give you a chance. If you get done again, they'll just stick you on basic.
You will wear a green t-shirt, which will denote the fact that you are a bully.
That's like an
You
escape
will be on
t-shirt.
2 visits a week, 20
If you try escaping, they'll put you in an escape uniform, which is a bright fucking orange canary suit.
minutes duration on closed conditions.
You lose your visits.
Right, is there anything you want to say?
Stitched up.
Okay, Mr. Mr.
Fell down the stairs. Wasn't used to the floor.
When I was in prison, I knew someone who committed suicide because they were bullied.
Yeah, I saw
The
it a
worst
few
thing
times.
was, the bullies were his friends, and they didn't even know they were bullying him.
See, the thing is, it's like practical jokes. You know, there was a time when I was on borderline getting bullied. You know, there was a kid, and it was another Donny lad, and all the other Donny lads were like egging him on, saying, "Oh, go and nick his quilt." So he'd gone and nicked my quilt, and they were all laughing. And I thought, okay, practical joke. And then they're saying, "Oh, go and nick his mattress." So then he's gone and nick my mattress. I'm like, for fuck's sake, you know, you're taking the piss now. But I let it go. And then he's come in and nicked something else. I was like, right, I've got to fucking sort this now. So I ended up, we was on the yard and he was started again. So I just jumped to him, just give him a quick jab, and it shocked him, you know. I felt guilty after it, but you have to do these things, you know. Otherwise, they're just going to keep going and going and going. And some people can't handle it, so they'll take their own life. And when the bullying, it's really bad. It's like they'll go in the cell, they'll throw milk all over his bed covers, shit in his pillow, they'll run up behind him, smack him with fucking kidney shots, run behind him, throw apples at their head, and, you know, relentless bullying day after day after day. It can feel hopeless, because prison's bad enough as it is. And people end up taking their own lives.
What was it you done that allowed them to say you was a bully?
Well, they don't tell you. They just say you've been identified as a bully.
Yeah, it'd have been strong arming some younger. Like, back then, it's different now. The last time I was in, there was a kid who was bullying other inmates, and all the Donny lads got together and just smashed his head in. He was a big kid as well. But back then, you know, they got away with it more.
They don't tell you, like, who you've meant to have bullied or what you've meant to have done.
So there's no need for bullying. Like I say, prison's hard enough without some knobheads trying to take all your stuff.
Bullying, punching people or whatever. Right, look at it.
I mean, these clothes that they give you here,
Canary suit.
can you say something about them? What about your visitors?
You have to go on a visit, innit?
Do they say, like, why are you in green, or you got, you know, what'd you tell them?
Well, yeah, told them what for. And like, they just said rather you than me. I'm going to wear them. Because it is humiliating, I'm going to wear them.
No, that's the gym there.
As an ex-British boxing champion, Brian Anderson commands the
Yeah, that's
respect
the
of
governor.
most prisoners.
Right, we're going to do the anti-bullying
That's him
programme
there.
now. I know a lot of you guys are here now. Don't
See, they used to have a punch bag on every wing. I used to go on it all the time. And we had a gym bloke who, I think he had a boxing gym or something, and we used to have pads and we'd do a bit of sparring in the top TV room. And it's a good way to get fit, but we would have a big punch bag on the corner of the wing so you could go on it every day.
don't
Or you could
agree
go to the gym,
that
play
your bullies and that you
football.
shouldn't be in greens. But what I'm going to try and show you is that lots of your behaviour actually is different.
You get, you can go to the gym, I think it's 3 times a week. I used to go play football on a Sunday, that sort of
Defined
stuff.
by the prison as bullying behaviour. What is bullying? Anything. What's bullying? Threats. Making threats. Borrowing. Okay. Lending. Lending, loaning. Yeah. And that's a classic, isn't it? Like somebody wants to borrow a phone card.
Yeah, that happened quite a lot. Somebody would be on the wing. They'd have like a quarter of burn, which is a quarter of a pack of a £2 tobacco pack, and they'd lend someone a quarter of the pack, and they'd want like 2 full packs back. And you'd get people that desperate for a smoke, they'd do it even though there's no way of paying it back, and then that's when they'd end up getting their heads kicked in. But once you do that, then you're known as a deadhead. So every wing you go on, it's going to follow you around. And, you know, if you're known as a deadhead, you could be just walking around a yard and someone will see you through one of the windows and shout, yeah, he's a fucking deadhead, him, get him smashed. And then, you know, he's going to get smashed on that wing. And so it's really not worth it. That's one thing you learn, just don't borrow. Unless you absolutely can pay it back.
So you lend them 10 credits and you say, okay, I want 20 credits back. But if somebody hasn't got 10 credits and they have to borrow it off you, what are the chances that they're going to be able to pay you 20 back the following week? Going to be slim, aren't they? Oh, see, people always give me this crap, yeah? Just trying to help them out. You're not helping them out, you're helping yourself out.
It's true.
And as soon as you recognise that, right, less likely you are to do it. Because if you're going to help somebody out, you help a mate out. A mate wants some some credits. You say, there you are. Right? You don't expect it back. Now that's helping somebody out.
That's just prison life.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's what everybody says. It's just prison life. But at the end of the day, you need to know that this is what the prison define as bullying. Right?
It's actually quite good what he's doing here, you know, taking the time out to sit with the prisoners. I'm sure he wouldn't do it now because prisons are full, aren't they? There's all the foreigners coming in and hardly anyone speaks English now, so all the resources will be going on that. But back then, it's a good governor that. You just sit down, take the time out to tell these lads, look, give them a bit of direction.
You can look at that list and actually say that since you've been in this prison,
that's somebody who cares.
You haven't done at least one of those things. Anybody? No?
Yeah, that's that. That's typical prison life. Somebody's always shouting, oh, you're fucking getting it. Wait till I get out of this cell, I'm going to smash your head in. You know, shouting out the windows because they didn't have TVs back then, so there was a lot of time they'd be shouting out the windows, taking a piss out of each other. That's why I'm pretty good at banter, because I've spent a lot of time at the windows over the years, just ripping people. That's what it's like every fucking day. Boom, boom, boom.
Started out on wing, like people.
He looks familiar. And I seem to remember him getting bullied.
Were taking advantage because I think one of the main reasons why I got bullied is because
I
got
fucking
a slash
remember
mark
him.
on my arm, and people think.
And I remember they used to light a wick, like at the end of the mops that you used to mop your cell. You could pull one of those strings off, light it with a lighter, and it would burn for ages. And they used to go up behind him, burn this wick and put it on his back. I remember him. He used to get bullied pretty bad. I remember once I said to him, I said, look, you've got to stick up for yourself, mate. Otherwise they're just going to keep doing it. And he listened, and we was sat at this table, and he's come up, and somebody said something to him, and he jumped up and said, oh, what did he say now? He says, yeah, and what? There's nothing you can do about it. And everybody just looked at him like, fucking, what are you on about, mate? It was cringy as fuck.
That you're weak, but there's other sort of bullying as well, like getting hassle all the time. Sort of hassle. Like getting singled out to get other lads to take piss out of you as well.
And throw apples in the back of your head. And
stuff like coming up to you with lighters that they've had lit for a long time and sticking out the back of your neck.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Things like that.
You'd light the end of a lighter until it's red hot and then just stick it straight on them.
No. Got asked who did it. I won't tell him who did it. It's grassing, isn't it? One of your rules, isn't it? One of your main rules.
You can't grass, otherwise you'd be labelled a grass and you'll just get your head smashed in.
Never grass on anybody. So how did you attempt suicide? Slash my wrist with a razor blade. Can I see them? Can we see them?
See, and that's the reality of prison, you know. People, young kid like him, obviously can't fight. You know, he looks like a little wimp. And you've got these other big, strong dudes that are just messing with him, burning him. And it pushes him to a point where he takes a fucking razor blade and rips it across his wrist. Just try and let that sink in. And that's the reality of prison. Best thing I could say about it is that I survived it.
Is that a scar?
Look at that.
Scars from last year.
And you see people, one of my old cellmates cut his own neck while I was in the cell. And just try and imagine that one, 2 o'clock in the morning, and the buzzer's on, I've fucking woken up, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, what's up? Put the light on, the blood all over the cell, he's cut his neck, he's stood there with a razor blade, and you're locked in the cell with him until the screws come. And I don't think the screws have got keys at 2 o'clock in the morning, so then they have to rally round to get keys, and you're stuck in there with the dude with a razor blade. And some of the mess that they make on the cells, they'll really cut themselves. And it's just,
changed a lot, the bullying. Is it
crazy.
Reduced, or is it more, or is it?
Yeah, it's reduced. Most definitely, it's reduced a lot. A great deal.
But anyway,
from what I've seen.
that's over 20
Bullying
minutes.
system in here is a good system.
So I'm going to continue
It's
for the rest of, there's another 10 minutes. I'm going to do part 2 tomorrow. So if you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Bonjour.